Namaste. My name is Kamlesh Kapoor, and we completed 4 parts already of caste system, social structures in ancient India today, what happened in the last 60 years, 65 years, where the country is in social structures, and where are some weaknesses or some kind of excesses. We have already done all those parts. Now, I just want to summarize and conclude because the way this whole system was constructed, affirmative action, the framework was laid down, ministries were created, down the line, decade after decade, something went wrong. And I will highlight that and how it led to something totally politically motivated, vote bank politics. And what really happened was that nothing was done for the poorer sections. The reserved categories, some did very well, some remained just outside the periphery or pushed out, and some were slided down. And this is what is the topic for today. Please make sure you have understood all the 4 parts of the caste system and why do we have such a rupture, fracture in the social system or social justice or equal employment opportunities. So Indian Constitution was written in 1950, and it is more than 65 years now. It mandated reservation for a specific period. Now it is extended for indefinite period. The Constitution uses the word pichhdi jati, which means backward jati. Pichhde work, backward tribes. This is in Hindi written down in the Constitution. Constitution is in Hindi as well. So how do jati got converted into caste? And how did it extend in various different directions where every single section of society is considered as minority? The British translated 4 varna into 4 castes, which is like the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, and the unskilled and skilled workers. How do these castes 4 became 4,400? What was the criteria used for that? And how did religion come in the picture? So something horribly went wrong in the last 6 decades. And the Constitution is now, I would say, subverted. Congress party, there was no opposition for a very long period. The opposition emerged for a couple of years in the 70s when Indira Gandhi laid down the emergency rules and became a dictator. At that time, the opposition started, which was almost immediately jailed. But then they came into power for a couple of years. For all these 65 years, practically there was no opposition party which could challenge the dictatorial amendments which were made in the Constitution. And most of these amendments were made to appease certain groups for creating a voting market. And commissions after commissions came and extended without any limit, without any time frame when it should stop. So the most of this was done as executive orders, and executive orders converted into constitutional amendment, and the system continued. The ministers in charge of minority rights or minority affairs invariably were Muslims. It is anyone's guess who got the maximum benefit. Now let's see the Christians and expanding scheduled castes. And how do they got expanded list of scheduled tribes? I gave the table before. They have large number of scheduled tribes. Christian lure scheduled tribes by cash award, promise of equality. This is a very important point, promise of equality, promise of higher education and better jobs. If they are converted with these promises, promise of equality, they should automatically surrender their ST status because they are now equal and they are getting higher education and better jobs, unless the promise is not even fulfilled and they are just let down with conversion. In reality, they continue to live in poverty. They live in camps, they just like slum area, temporary housing kind of thing, with no change in their prospect. I personally have visited many camps in Calcutta. I was posted there and I visited those. And I also visited several districts in Punjab. And these showed me the real picture that what is it that Christians, backward classes did achieve. And I would say the picture I got, nothing. They were complaining. There was no promise of education. They were too poor to pay for education. And therefore, they remained where they were some 50, 60 years. Now, about the caste. Because every time the word caste is used, first of all, it is used wrongly. And then it is a kind of allegation, a derogatory kind of label saying that no other religion has this kind of apartheid and no other society suffers from low classes, high classes. Everything is like utopian paradise of social equality and economic equality and whatnot. So just briefly, we should say caste in Europe. Caste is actually a Portuguese word. Obviously, the word exists when there is a certain kind of experience or certain kind of factual empirical existence of something. Only then the words come. So caste, Portuguese did have caste, all right. England did have classes. Feudal system was nothing but caste system. A serf is born to be a serf, and indebted person could never get out of the indebtedness. So it was there, and it is still there to some extent where the race has entered into the picture. Although social divisions exist in many other societies, they are specifically linked with Indian society when the discussion comes. Now, for example, prior to 1500 AD, conservative and orthodox Jews followed a threefold division of society, known as Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim. Accent may be wrong. My accent. I think Kohan is even now, Levi is there now. So these were there. Kohan is a priestly class obtained by birth. Now, caste in Indian Muslims is already discussed. There are Sayyids, Qurayshis, Khans, and these are all different castes. All societies have classes. Even children of the same parents move to different classes because no two children are alike, coming from the same situation, nurturing, and parentage. So class is a natural thing. I mentioned before again and again that no two tomatoes on the same plant are the same. So by definition or by descriptions of the social structure in ancient India, I would say very firmly that caste does not exist. It never did. What existed was Gotra, Varan, and Jati. Jati is still there as surname, and Gotra, nobody knows their own Gotra because that has something connected with the Hindu Dharma. And Varan collapsed long time back when massive invasions occurred in after 1000 AD, actually a little prior to that. So most of the people who died fighting were Kshatriyas, and the most of people who were massacred were Brahmins. So only two classes were left, which were like skilled workers and let us say the farmers, traders. That is the backbone of the economy. Who else is going to do the farm work if they kill the Vaishyas? So foreign NGOs, so now if caste doesn't exist and never did exist, why is that the entire government machinery uses the word? In every single document, it forces the people to declare their caste. Who is perpetuating the usage of this word? And why this word is allowed to create cleavages in the society where there are none. As growing up children, we did not face any discrimination of any kind. But that was then, long back. In the meantime, India is in the grip of something very nefarious, promoted by the government, encouraged by the foreign-funded NGOs, the Western self-anointed watchdogs of rights, and of course, Congress Party. So these groups support the socio-political nefarious power hunger and plunder of the exchequer. For each of these groups, if they don't have the caste, it becomes an existential threat. They do not want it to go away. They want it to use as a whip to trash Hindu Dharma or Hindu society and whip them up at whip their backs at any given time they feel like it. So religion is another wild card to be played against certain groups to reduce their numbers. The more you encourage the minority religions, the most devastating impact occurs on the majority religion. So it has, it affects their numbers, that is demography. It is equal to social engineering. The psychological effect is that it finishes their self-esteem. They don't matter in the scheme of government's budgets or in the government's policies or policy implementation. And it finishes their cultural uniqueness. And most of the time, the government of India, on any given day, they feel like it's some joker, clown, will declare that such and such thing in Hindu Dharma is a superstition. Therefore, we should pass a law against it. So this is, you see, the power politics around religion which the majority is facing. So caste bonded is bonded with politics. In other words, it does not exist, but it is put together, joined to the political structure, party system, um, without any hope of breaking it. So, equating and linking caste with human rights violations, this must stop. So, let us say no society is perfect. In every country, there are classes, there racial discrimination, there are all kind of issues creating violence between different groups. So equating and linking caste with human rights violation, this must stop because caste doesn't exist. It never did. Wrongly translated words and various labels in social dialogue and public discussion, both in the media and at the institutional level, like categories Dalit. What does that mean? That's a communist coined this word. Dalit means literally broken down, powdered. And where was this happening? Who were the Dalits? Okay. And similarly, there are words using anthropological and sociological difficult labels to put someone down, put someone up. So followers of this should also be stopped. And the government usually cannot control the media, freedom of press, and blah, blah, blah. And they cannot stop the social dialogue or gear it towards the right ends. But public pressure can do something. Various groups who are nationalists or patriotic or who really want welfare of everybody in India should use pressure to let go of these categories. Followers of all faith traditions must respect each other as part of society with rainbow colors. See, it's a diverse country, it's a diverse climate conditions, diverse dress styles, food habits, and all that. So politicians and their mafia groups must cease using these religious groups as a block of vote market or voting bank. No religious group should allow itself to be exploited. That is the important thing. Religious groups think that many will benefit and we will multiply and squeeze the exchequer in their favor. But then it is also subject to the exploitation. Now, foreign intervention. This is playing a major role. The foreign NGOs, many of thousands of them, literally thousands of them exist. And many thousands are also unregistered, which means they are just existing, getting money from outside, brainwashing people, spreading Christianity or some other religion, and destroying India from within. So there is monitoring of the society through these NGOs. There is surveillance of the government policy implementation. And then there is scanning the trends. And all of these are absolutely unhealthy things. At any given time, whenever they feel like they come with a laundry list of accusations. And they are starting, then they start casting stones, throwing stones. Just for example, any little thing happens, RSS, BJP, Hindus, Saffron Army, such words are used without even probing the matter or the cause of the riots, or without even investigation report. The media starts this kind of nonsense and creating a atmosphere, literally, of disturbance of social harmony. A few weeks back, 2 nuns were killed in Mississippi, United States. RSS, BJP, Hindus are responsible. It was just about to come out. Luckily, before this type of rhetoric gained momentum, the suspect was caught. It was a Native American, citizen of America who did it for whatever reasons. But the first instinct, reflex action, knee-jerk reaction of both Indian media and Western media, all media, is to say Hindus did it. Had it happened in India, the headline would have been Saffron Army violating human rights of the minorities. And then they will plant the false evidence to disrupt the life and then manufacture grievances to justify and create rights, create cleavages. And this thing is like, it has a continuous pattern. Question is, human rights violation, where in India do these exist? I lived in India. I go to India every 2 years, sometimes twice a year. I could not find human rights violation except by the religious groups and by the government itself. It was no particular caste or jati which was doing this kind of violation. The government itself is a communal, it was a communal entity creating these things and forcing people, every single document and application for jobs, for admission to the colleges, you have to declare the caste. Don't understand why. Now, foreign NGOs, they have been doing religion, and this is the point I repeated this thing is because this is an ongoing task of the foreign agencies and interventionists using the word human rights violation. We should move forward from here. Otherwise, the social harmony will be just on the horizon, far, far away. And nobody would be able to create it on earth. So we should change the criteria on which the benefits are given under the affirmative action. There should be equality of opportunity and education. And we should restore the secular values. The government cannot show favoritism on the basis of religion or on the basis of criteria of any other type. Unhappy, grieving people may go if they feel that they are being, their rights are violated. They can go wherever they are happy. NGO must not be allowed to be mafia groups. Foreign citizens should not have voting rights and most decidedly not hold any political position. Even foreign-born person or married to a foreigner should not hold a leadership position or ministerial position for the simple reason that there is a clash of foreign policy issues and stand on issues in different countries. A sovereign nation like India does not require Western policing, regardless of religion or any other thing. So what is the task ahead? First of all, we educate our people about the meaning of the caste and how mismatched the thing is. Then we educate other global society. Of course, they won't give you the platform to speak, but somehow or other we have to learn to make inroads. So what is their current social structure? It doesn't hurt to find out discrimination, bigotry, class conflicts, the whole package in other societies. And it is good to highlight so that they do the introspection before doing scanning of other societies. Macrocosm of interconnectivity can only be seen if we have a global perspective or a global context. The larger spectrum, the past of India compared with present status of classes in West, that is very ignoble kind of propaganda. You started giving, and the West started giving rights to people in the last 2 centuries, even later than that. And they are comparing it, their present freedoms and liberties and equalities and all these kind of rhetoric with India of 6,000 years back, without even reading the scriptures or the oral traditions or studying the society. And somehow or other, communists and all the other anti-national people, they have bonded together to create an atmosphere of distrust. So we should learn to highlight other persons' fault lines, race, color, segregation. Make your own Asian human rights organization and lodge complaints with the United Nations against those involved in race, color, segregation. Offensive like this is always a better strategy than being in the defensive position. Hanging down head when other people are putting you in a defensive position, you can never win anything. You just slip down and down. So the change should be there in the paradigm of the dialogue. New classes may be added and many must be removed as well. Social classes should be declared on the poverty basis. Religion and personal law must not be the basis of reservation. Absolutely to be stopped right away. People need to be educated about other societies. Status-based classes should be there. Civil code must be uniform, same for all layers of society, regardless of religion. Attempts at breaking India's social engineering via keeping the ghost of caste alive and linking it with Hindu Dharma must stop. Through government initiatives, executive orders, such orders were used to create the problem, can now be used for solving the problem. Finally, I must recommend, please read the books Breaking India by Rajiv Malhotra, because that shows us how far the West is going to break down the sovereign entity called India. And then there is an exhaustive report I mentioned in earlier sessions, which is prepared by Rakesh Bahadur. I gave the name Equality and Inclusion. And that is a must read. Anybody who starts a dialogue over a cup of tea in a casual way should at least be well informed. Otherwise, keep your mouth shut. We owe this much for our next generation to try to create equality in the eyes of the law and abide by equal opportunities regardless of religion. The caste word should be filtered out from the mindset and instruments of policy implementation, both in the public sector and in the private sector. All branches of government at the center must not insist, actually should not have even the line item about caste and jati. Classes and their interrelations do not reflect equality or bhaichara. It never is brotherhood. Discriminative attitudes between classes is very common. People from a CEO of a company will not be dining and wining with a person from the slums. And that applies to all countries. Sovereign countries must not be policed. Muscle twisting by the West only proves their hypocrisy and that they really believe that might is right. What will you expect when you start doing all these reforms? Protests, roadblocks, allegations from foreign paid press and other anti-Indian national forces. Do not allow these to discourage you. Putting head in the sand is not a solution. Hindus have done it for one millennia. Should Indians allow another couple of millennia to be impacted by this psychological warfare? No. Your answer should be no. My suggestion is absolutely no. So you start reforms, others will join. Things usually have a snowball kind of effect. It has larger impact. Expect miracles. Yes. Equal opportunity and social justice. That is the miracle for which Indians should look for reforms at every single level, social, political, and public sector, private sector, everybody. Having said that, I really thank you, not for viewing this, not just for listening to me, but if you promise all the viewers and listeners that something will be done concrete on the basis of these clarifications, historical misperceptions which are clarified, and other things which I feel have been happening. If I achieve that some of the viewers will move forward and pick up the strength, muster enough strength to start the reform, that will be absolutely great. And that will be my real gratitude to all of you. Thank you once again.